I'm Megan.
I'm Sarah.
And we're geology majors on a field trip to the North Rim!
And we're going to talk about some rocks. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
All right, let's start!
This is a sedimentary rock. We know this due to the particles of sand we see. It is medium-grained sandstone, but we can find some finding upward sequences lower down. Looking closely, we can see small grains of quartz.
As my partner briefly explained before, we can see the finding up sequence. Towards the left, the rocks are quite a bit more coarse, while towards the right, they are finer. This indicates finding up sequence because of the layering, while the coarse is laid first and the fine is laid last, indicating that this might have been a floodline, meaning that we can hopefully assume that it was once a river environment, which would explain the course and how it appears because of the high intensity of water flow that from the previous river environment deposited the mineral, which is rather resistant to weathering.
As we look out into the depression, this used to be filled with sediment, which has been eroded away by the Colorado River.
Welcome to the Grand Canyon.
The rain shadow effect. That's when the clouds rise and the air gets cooler and it has less gravity. So those particles, they spread out and they can't hold the water, which explains the greener vegetation on the North Rim.
The laccolith, or igneous intrusion, occurs when magma in the asthenosphere rises through a dike in between the layers, eventually going through a sill in the layers and getting stuck. There the magma bubbles up inside the crust, pushing it up and creating what can be also considered a blister or a laccolith.
So at the top is the kayak, then there's borrowing, and then there is red layer, hermit shell. Then we go to the 2-5 sandstone, which is a mix of sandstone and shell. Then we go to the red wall limestone, down to the I don't know.
So we have the Kaib Formation, the Toroweap Formation, the Cosino Sandstone, the Hermit Formation, the Supai Formation, the Red Wall Limestone, the Mauve Limestone, the Bright Angel Shale, and then finally the Tai Peat Sandstone. This is the Grand Canyon Supergroup.
And we found Golem!
Alright, so here we have sandstone, and we can tell because if we look, all the grains look like sand, and they're very fine grain. And if you look, there's also in the sunlight, it's very shiny, so we know there's quartz. And they're very small pieces of quartz, so we can assume, however this river got here, it was a very powerful river since it was able to make this quartz very small. And if you look, you have this red, which we believe is staining from the other layers above this sandstone layer. And if you look, we also have these laminae, possibly indicating the flow of the river when it was flowing through here.
And we know that it's Kayenta sandstone because Dr. McLean, while walking through, talked about how it was Kayenta sandstone.
We found this rock, and we know that it's similar to the one on this side because it has the same patterns of the laminae and the cross beddings cutting through. And so when we come over here, we know that this must have been exposed first when the river bed was going through because it has the same patterns like the rock over there. But then we come and look at this one, and this must have been somewhere else because it doesn't have the exact same laminae cuts and crossbed cuts. But it's also a completely different color, and it's different colors because of the staining. While this is the natural color of the rock, this has been stained and exposed from the sun, so it's been bleached in a sense.
And here's a physical transition from the Cosino Sandstone to the Hermit Formation. Isn't it cool?
Here we find a good example of slope formers and cliff formers. The recent rock slide is made up of slope forming rock, and it undercuts the more resistant rock or cliff former.
And that's our trip to the North Rim!